Hey guys, this is Kieran from Eccentric Physio. Today's exercise is looking at sled pushes and pulls, and it works a lot of muscles, but we're considering in this context what the thoracic spine has to do. But if, say, I've given you this video to do as homework, or you're just watching this generally, then it's very useful for the hips, it's very useful for the lower back. It's kind of a full body exercise. It's a nice way to deload if you need to work on, say, quad strength, particularly if you're going backwards. So it's got a lot of application, but if you're particularly interested in like the spinal setup, this is a great exercise to watch and to learn from. So with this sled, I've got about 40 kilos on here, plus the weight of the sled, which I'd say is probably about 10 to 20, somewhere in there as well. I find that most people, when they first start out with this, can do anywhere between 50 to 75% of their body weight. That's not a hard fact, it's just kind of what I've seen consistently when they're first introduced to this. And as they start to figure out other details around the skill of the movement, then they kind of move up quite quickly into body weight type weights. More than able to go past that if it interests you, but I'm interested in using this today as a way to cue in and thinking about spinal position and how spinal position allows you greater range into, say, your hips, which is something that you need for this exercise, depending on if you're pushing or pulling. So, with the pulling side of it, there's lots of ways you can do this. And I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. This is just a way that I'll cue people. This is one that could be particularly nice for people that are looking for some knee rehab. And you can, start slow, walk slow, take smaller steps. You can regress quite easily. And you'll find that some people that can't do squats can actually do this and get a nice quad burn. So what do? I want to be as tall as I can. I'm going to be as wide as I can. So I'm not pulling my shoulder blades back. I'm just being wide. It's like I'm trying to touch that wall. I'm trying to touch that wall. My ribs are down. I can still breathe. If these feel very challenging for you and very rigid, go back to some of our floor-based exercises like dead bugs and prone lying and breathing, and see if you can get some use out of those as a warm-up before you do this. Doing those will make you better at it. This will not make you better at it. You have to have those ranges to get the most out of this. But there are other things to get out of this too. So just thinking about maybe I'll work on this while I also work on this, and at some point they'll converge and meet. I'm going to lean back, keeping those cues. And this is biasing a little bit more of a spinal or thoracic extension because I'm pulling, okay? So I could do this in a pulled position, or I can do it in a lengthened position, but I'm keeping my spine in the same position and I'm trying to not deviate too much. Deviation being like a sideways bend, being like too much rotation, and I'm just walking backwards. If I want to increase the difficulty, I'll put more weight on, or I'll take bigger steps. For the pushing side of it, we're going to be a little more interested in the kyphosis. So I'll come back up down that end, and then you guys can see what I'm talking about. But this is the push. Okay. So with a push, I'm interested in kyphosis, I'm interested in protraction, and I'm interested in keeping that in that position and stable while I have a lordosis here and a lordosis in my neck. You notice I was looking at where I was going, my head was up, I could still breathe. Basically all the same spinal cues we talked about for the pulling, but also for the pushing. We're going to go through a little demo as I take it back, and you can see the difference in my hips. If I get a bit sloppy in my spine, I'll lose range in my hips. If I keep that spinal position, I'll gain range in my hips, okay? So, let's go back and I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So, sloppy spine position, it could be anything, right? I'm just gonna go complete flexion, and flexion's biased towards hip flexion, right? Which means bringing my knee up, which means it's probably gonna be harder for me to extend my hip. So, if I come into here, I'm not really getting true extension. Now, if I get into a lordosis through my spine, as in I extend my lower back, now I can get into much more extension, okay? If I extend through my thoracic spine, again, I'm not gonna get as stable through my shoulders, and I'm gonna feel a lot more pressure going through these areas instead of being nice and locked evenly through here and here, which is gonna have a reduced force transfer out into my hip extensors. So, just things to think about, but great exercise. Go for time, go for distance. Do something consistent though. So if you go for time, choose 100 meters and then say, how long does that 100 meters take me? And then the following week and the week after, am I doing that same distance faster? Or the other way around, I'm gonna go for 2 minutes. And over those 2 minutes, over a few weeks, am I getting more and more distance over those 2 minutes, okay? Try and maintain those positional cues we were talking about. Keep breathing and start working on increasing the weight and turning this into a bit of a cardiovascular exercise. But awesome tool to learn how to keep stable and push or pull. If you like this video, then please hit like below. Otherwise, to check out more of our content in the future, you can subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo over here. And to check out our latest video, click up here.